Good morning. How are we doing today? It's really incredible, just the sheer scale of the scope of the project.
You don't realize until you see this steel going up.
I try to describe it around, I point at the cranes and everything like that. They go, how do you sleep at night? How do you think of all these things? How do you know all these numbers and this and that?
The magnitude is so much greater than anything that we've done before.
Closest thing to war is a construction site. So if you could imagine the organized chaos.
You know what the best smell on the project is?
What's that?
Asphalt.
Asphalt.
Smells like progress. It's almost incomprehensible. Weekly, we're out there just amazed at something that we're seeing.
It's just not this giant building that you see going up. There are thousands and thousands of details.
You're seeing it come to life across the street, right? The steel, the concrete, you name it.
I don't know that there's ever been a bigger project in the city of Buffalo.
This view that we're looking at, you could see downtown.
What do we want it to be? How do we want this to feel? It's football first. It really starts, though, with Kim and Terry.
Here's what we're talking about. There's not one place you can stand and not see the field.
You look at items like the field club and the field concourse, the locker rooms, all of these little parts are almost projects by themselves, but they're only a piece of what we're doing out here.
Are we going higher?
Yeah, the canopy's up. Wednesday we'll be setting the first canopy piece.
All those things add up to the experience.
We can compete on and off the field with any team in the National Football League because of that stadium.
You forget sometimes to sit back and take it in. My hope is that at the end of this project, we all look back as a community and take pride in the project that we've delivered.
Before we know it, 26 is going to be here, and we're going to open the doors, and we're going to have that home opener, and the place is going to be crazy.
All right, let's go ahead and get started. So back in late 2021 is when the project really started kicking off. It had advanced far enough in discussions with the state and county where the project was becoming real. So Frank Cravata and I were kind of tasked with getting the actual project piece of it started from a planning perspective. In fall of 2021, we selected Legends Project Development as our project development partner. Shortly thereafter, we selected Populous as our architect, followed by Gilbane Turner as our CM. So there was roughly 14 to 16 months between the selection of our team and the actual start of construction. And that 14 to 16 months was intense.
Populous has done a great job of getting us ready to work and to create narratives for the entirety of the building. And early on, you just don't know. So you sit down with all the key stakeholders, right? You talk about that together.
To plan a project of a 1.3 million square foot sports facility, the best tools to use is lessons learned from the past, right? So the first question whenever you come to an interview, have you done a stadium before? Because there's lessons learned on a stadium is different than a high-rise or a hospital or a school. So I did Yankee Stadium, and then upon completion of that, I went and did the transformation of Madison Square Garden.
I started out here in 2013 for the big lease renovation.
I could compare it to Harbor Center, worked with the Pagula family. Populous was the architect. At that time was the largest private investment for a building in the city of Buffalo.
You know, we renovated both lobbies at the training facility. We added the scouting room. We then did the training room renovation. We built a new weight room.
I think we kind of take for granted now what Harbor Center is, but you build a parking ramp, and then on top of the parking ramp, you put 2 hockey rinks. And then on top of that, you put a hotel. That was certainly a challenge. I think it's helped me for my role today. Again, nothing compared to the 1.3 million square feet we're building across the street.
So really, parts and pieces that we've done over the years really did prepare us for this major project.
The goal was to get as much excavation completed, as many foundations in the ground before we ran into bad weather.
Having the property be across the street and owned by Erie County, it was the perfect site to be able to hit the ground running.
So you take those lessons learned and you put that into your approach.
And then they help kind of create these written visions of the building, of the feel, the look, the expectations.
That translation, if you're not collaborating, the vision is not met.
And Terry said that right off the bat. We're playing in open air, football's played outside, we're gonna play on natural grass, and we're gonna play in a building that is designed for football.
Buildings, especially buildings of this size, are no longer designed and drawn in 2 dimensions. The new way of designing buildings like this is through 3-dimensional modeling.
It allows me to walk the building before the building's built. So let's take a closer look at it. Then we start digging into the drawings, dig further into the model, and then we come up with our questions for the design team. We clarify stuff for the contractors.
All of the components in the building are then put into this model prior to any fabrication being completed. All of the columns, all of the beams, all of the conduit, all the ductwork.
What pieces go first, what rate of change you have to use to get to where you want to be. So we build it and you could fly through what it looks like.
So if I drop myself right down in here, I can actually walk the path of a player, a coach.
Everything is built in this model. And when a clash exists, when there's a conflict between where something's going to go, it gets resolved in the model before it becomes a problem in the field.
If the precast doesn't line up the way it should be, now they go back and they survey the structural steel. Oh, this needs to be tweaked a little bit, that needs to be tweaked a little bit, and then it gets, set in its right position. So really going from the computer model right out to the built environment out there is really what's allowing us to go as fast as we are over there.
So John and Todd and the architects, they're checking actual constructability. I'm using it in a different way where I see an opportunity to tell a story.
What this technology allows us to do is literally at any point spin around the building and see,
man, we really have a void in this concourse. Is there signage there? Is there wayfinding there? Is there a sponsorship opportunity there? I may say, hey, we could put whatever that may be that we come up with within that area. And the fact that it can be done and be done with such detail and organization is really mind-boggling. It's incredible and really fun to be part of.
You can't just tackle a $1 billion project as a whole. You have to break it down into parts and pieces.
The hundreds of different materials that are going to go into the building. I'm just absolutely flabbergasted and amazed how they keep track of it all.
You can't just go to Home Depot and pick it up,
The main stadium structure is made out of steel.
Listen, we are so excited to be here today to celebrate the launching of our steel phase.
Putting up the first column is an iconic major milestone.
February is really one of the dates that I use all the time when I'm looking back and trying to comprehend how fast things are moving. In total, we'll have over 21,000 pieces of steel for a total of over 25,000 tons of steel.
Every connection is there, the metal panels, all the outbuildings that are going on the concourses, all the elevators, all the stairs, but there's still more steel to follow. I mean, it's just absurd the amount of steel on the project.
We have roughly 10,000 parking spaces. So you basically say that you take every car on a game day and stack those up, you're probably plus or minus 25,000 tons. It doesn't seem like that many cars, does it? It's a lot of cars. The main component is steel, but concrete is not far behind it.
It's a lot of concrete. There's so much concrete in this job that they probably could have basically used a concrete plant just for themselves.
There will be about 1.5 million square feet of concrete placed. All right, so middle of May, out here on the site. Another rainy day, unfortunately, but today we're starting the precast installation in the stadium.
Several different types of footings and foundation walls.
They started with one of these freestanding ones. So this one will be temporarily shored up and shimmed until the other pieces around it are in place, and then everything gets built. Kind of almost like a house of cards, to be honest with you, right? You gotta get started somewhere.
Then there's structural precast. We use the term stadia.
So then where's the first piece of stadia going tomorrow?
First piece of stadia is likely gonna be this tub right here.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Some people call the seats. It looks like the seats, but they don't have the seats on them yet. It acts as bones of the stadium.
All of the QA/QC that you're seeing down here is also happening at the shop.
We're making sure that the run is within 1/8 of an inch, the rise is within 1/8 of an inch, and then the next run and rise. And then once they're done pouring and they strip, we check it again, so we know when the precast stadia gets on the truck to come here, it's already QA/QC, that it's ready to go.
Average over the duration of the project is 10 pieces of the precast stadia per day. So some of our trade partners here are laying out some of the underground utilities. So this is part of the technology that's being used. All GPS that ties back to the coordination drawings and the models in the system that are letting them know where to lay out these lines for eventual trenching and installation of the electrical conduit. It's another component that's crazy to look at. We're anticipating over 300 miles of conduit. And then maybe even more insane than that is that there will be 1,300 miles worth of wire that goes in that conduit. Sounds like a crazy amount, and then you start looking at it and you wonder, are we underestimating how much conduit is here? Because it's all over.
What we're not even getting to yet is all the finish. The flooring, dozens of different light fixtures, the hundreds of pieces of furniture.
And so there's a lot of that, right, inspiration of what our suite should look like. Kim was a huge part of kind of getting the overall vision for all these spaces as we were working through it early on.
Across the street, it's a completely different animal. It's brand new. You're starting from a white piece of paper. You don't really get to do that very often. I think that's a big part of making sure we get it right.
Instead of making noise. They're fitting up steel. That sounds is progress, Terry.
Terry gets involved in pockets. He's certainly aware of everything all the time, but there are certain items where he likes to drill in more than others. And just based on my background and his background in engineering, we mesh in that regard.
Hey, these seats over here where you see those rakers, those are pretty steep, and boy, they look like good seats.
Yeah.
You're hanging right over the field there.
These guys are incredibly focused on every little detail. Everything's been addressed.
7 days a week now, Joe?
We started last week doing 7. We see the beautiful weather. We know how the winter could be. So we're trying to get the structure. Once you have the overhang done, you can work all you want underneath.
The things that are most important is sometimes not seen.
Are we going to be painting some of this?
Yes, something gets painted like that, something gets covered.
When we're taking Mr. Pagula around on his tour, I brought him into a corridor and said, this is the most important corridor in the building. Big corridor with a lot of pipes and wires above in the ceiling. That has the lifeblood of the whole job is distributed in that corridor around 360. Then it branches up through the stadium and branches out to the electric closets, to the bathrooms, whatever it is. And that's why they call curtain wall the skin.
How you doing?
Top of the house, Angelo.
Woohoo!
Thanks for the lift, appreciate it.
Okay, so here's what we're talking about, looking at the field.
The way the structural steel was designed, the way the building was designed, was always with that open concept in mind.
Some stadiums you go in, you can only see half of the scoreboard, you have to duck down and whatnot.
Part of the end zone gets blocked out, you know.
You're over here buying something and Josh throws a 40-yarder and you turn around and you hear the fans cheering.
There's a lot of stadiums that don't do that. Part of it was to protect our fans from the wind, so we pushed all of the functionality out to the outside. And what would that do?
Much more covered space, much more heated space. It's going to be a whole totally different experience for our fans.
To be able to walk around out there now, you get a sense of it, and that will only grow over time as we start to finish out the building.
So how does the new structure versus the old structure increase the fan experience?
That is a beam, huh?
You may want to get a photo in front of this one.
Holy cow. Is this 108 feet, you said?
Yeah.
You want to walk that beam?
No.
They'll walk that in.
I'll walk it here. I ain't walking it up there.
I'm not even going to walk it here.
So the Canopy, for example, 108-foot cantilever, and the seats below.
And this is our first roof truss that's going up.
First one.
First one, we did a dry run test pick this morning. We are ready to go. This is what said canopy will start to look like.
And
so
this piece over here is this guy.
There you go.
We started talking through what does this cover want to look like. The structural engineers came back to us and said they're considering a kind of a V profile. And the reason for that is it allows them to bring forces of the canopies down through one central point. And so a lot of different functions of the canopy for sure.
60+% are covered from the weather.
Shade on the hot days, cover from rain, and then also provide cover from snow and deflect the wind. Certainly one of the questions as we started getting into the design was to confirm that the canopy can hold the snow loads of Buffalo.
On top of that canopy is the world's largest snowmelt system.
There will be sensors in the roof that will monitor the temperature and precipitation.
So all this green piping coming down is all the drainage, so that's all the storm piping. And then these red units here on the catwalk level and all this blue little piping is all the hydronic heat that'll actually run through this.
People ask, there's no way it can hold that much snow. You know, we're going to get 7-footer again, and that, you know, how can you possibly do it? And all of that has gone into the planning that, yes, it absolutely will, and it will melt it.
So the snow melt within the canopy will be in that V. Ensures that if we were to hit a long period of cold weather, we're not taking a 7-foot storm and continuing to pile them on top. It allows us to melt the snow at a rate so that the canopy is always in a safe condition.
This stadium is built for Buffalo. It's all about Buffalo. It's all about creating a competitive edge.
Even in designing the building, the beginning, what structure are we going to use? You know, what's the shape of the building? How tall is the building? Number one was, you know, how does this affect football? How does it affect the team? And then how does it, you know, affect the fan experience?
It's such a home field advantage where we currently are because of the way the fans react. I think it's going to put them in a position to even impact the game more. I think a canopy that covers 60% of the stadium is interesting enough, but then I think the piece that's most underrated is how that canopy is going to help keep sound in.
Here's the north scoreboard, so that's the highest scoreboard. It's cut into the upper deck.
Certainly the stadium is going to have fantastic video boards, ribbon boards, but from the beginning we were not focused on trying to beat Dallas or beat SoFi.
Want to make sure people understand we haven't ignored video. We do have large video boards and large ribbon boards in the stadium, but what we focused on is the sound.
Our stadium won by just inherently by the design.
So tucked underneath that video board and then underneath the canopy the whole way around is where the speakers will be, which again, as fans are getting loud and creating their own noise, that's going to reflect off of the canopy and create just more sound down on the field. So we are anticipating a really loud environment here on game day.
The wind has been a factor on this project since the very beginning.
So we're going to take you into the wind tunnel and do something that we call flow visualization.
Basically everything that we're measuring are ratios that can be scaled to any wind speed at full scale.
To kind of give you an idea of basically a bubble that forms over top portions of the stadium.
Perforated metal panels on the outside are the primary driver in the wind confusion.
We're already starting to see the effects of the design. So the wind on the field is very minimal, even though the wind outside today is pretty substantial.
Thousands of these panels, they let the air through or they stop the air. So when it's 10 degrees outside with 40-mile-per-hour winds, and then quickly get into the building and feel the difference.
Stadium will have a lot of unique features that will put us at the forefront of the league. First and foremost is our digital antenna system, so our cell coverage and Wi-Fi.
They have a technology building, which is an 18,000 square foot building set south of the stadium proper.
So one of the reasons we talked about early on, we decided to have a technology building, was that we'd be able to get this building up and finished before the stadium.
We took all that space that would have been eaten up in the stadium and pulled it out and put it in a separate building.
So now we're in the broadcast server room.
Any space, any square footage within the building is just too valuable.
So scoreboard control, the DAS system for cell phones, all that stuff is in the technology building.
We've also got a natural gas generator in here. Again, you're starting to see ductwork, cable tray, all the infrastructure for what will be a jam-packed critical room.
It is the brains of the stadium. And then everything from the technology building goes underground and then goes back into the new stadium, distributes out.
So that we can bring that building online a lot sooner than the rest of the stadium. We don't have to wait for the stadium to be done. It also allows us to expand that building in the future.
Because we just know, every year there's something new.
Things are moving at warp speed from a technology standpoint, especially in our industry. So as the need for a larger footprint for IT equipment comes up in the future, we'll be able to expand the technology building much more simply than we would be able to find more space within the new stadium.
Wi-Fi will be the fastest and best you could ever have.
Just better access for everybody. I mean, everybody has a cell phone, everybody has a mobile device.
That's what people expect when they go into an airport, when they go into a hotel lobby, and certainly when they go into a modern NFL facility. So we want to make sure that that is seamless and fast.
That type of connectivity will open up a lot of opportunities for us to further enhance the game day experience.
Here we go, fellas. Hey, fly around today. Couldn't ask for a better opportunity, man. Guys down, guys step up. Play for each other. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3.
I think collaboration is what it's all about. This facility has to be a world-class fan experience. Just as importantly, or more importantly, it's got to be a great place for the team to play. We want that competitive edge every single Sunday, but how do you make that the best-in-class facility for the team?
All of this is getting built. But the finish and something that would make it special to our team or to the coach or to ownership, we're targeting.
Players, coaches, and staff can all report right to the new stadium on game day. So we have team dining facilities over there, hydrotherapy pools, training areas, sauna and steam room, obviously a full significant locker complement.
Big area from that wall down there to the wall that you see down here is all of the locker room area.
We have the basic shapes and forms of the locker room. We have the number of lockers. We have all the architectural elements that are going in. But my research is always the extreme of some crazy cool stuff that's out there that would inspire us.
So we'll have 2 main tunnels that will go from our service level down onto the field, and we'll have 4 additional access points from service level onto the field. For game day, the home team and the visiting team will never interact except for when they're on the field playing. A completely different environment than we deal with today.
All these other things are going to work, and they're going to work well, but it is a football-first facility with great clear video screens and a lot of energy, an incredible audio system. But the focus of this building is on the football field.
And I think I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the technology that goes into our natural grass field.
Wedding cake, we call it, the playing field.
So our key date is March 15th. We have to turn this over to the playing field contractor.
It's not easy to grow grass in Buffalo and maintain it.
It's got a sub-air system, which is state-of-the-art. It's got an irrigation system. It's got field heat underneath it. So not only will they be able to push and pull air, they'll be able to also heat the field.
They will then wirelessly be able to control some of those systems on the moisture content, the temperature of the field, all of that type of data that our grounds folks need. And lastly, we'll have grow lights, which will provide simulated UV lighting.
We'll be able to actually grow grass in Buffalo without the sun, which is pretty incredible.
We'll be only the second facility to have all of that technology, and we will have the latest technology of all of that.
Yeah, the stadium and the fan experience is a daily conversation with Terry and his family. It's incredibly important for them to get this right. They've obviously invested a significant amount into that building. They're not going to deviate from building a world-class facility here in Buffalo.
What do engineers do? They make the world a better place.
We focus a lot on built for Buffalo. I would extend that to say this is a project that's going to be built for Buffalo by Buffalo.
I want you all to think of it this way. No matter where you're from or what you're doing, right? You build a hospital. Suddenly people are coming in and getting cured. You build a school. You might be the next president of the United States learning in that school. You build a stadium. The fan experience is increased, making the world a better place.
You have put your heart and soul into this project. You showed up day after day, and I'm so grateful that you've done that. We had over 800 people, 136,000 hours just since we launched this project. And in 7 months, we're ready for the next phase.
Yeah, morale is incredibly important. We know what they mean to this project. It can't be done without them.
I think really it's not a ton different than what our team does on the field, and they're relying on one another to know their role, know their responsibility, and be accountable to one another.
It's just a shot in the arm of our local economy, and I'm very proud of that. Just talked to a gentleman upstairs from Ghana, been in the country 17 years, and then right behind him comes a guy from Amherst, wants to shake my hand saying, "Go Bills," and it's just a cross-section of America working here on our stadium.
The old stadium, people don't understand, why are you getting rid of that stadium? I have so many memories in there. You're gonna take away my memories. We're just gonna take the memories and walk them across the street.
Thrown behind, but somehow caught, and now lateral to Allen.
So it's going to be like a deja vu. It's a totally new experience, but it's going to feel the same.
And reaching for the pylon. Are you kidding me? It's a touchdown.
Our fans, the things that they'll continue to see throughout the rest of this year and into early 2025, completion of the rest of the structural steel, completion of the precast stadia inside. The canopy steel will continue to be erected.
You're kind of seeing that now as the roof line is gently sweeping down in the end zones.
And then we'll start on the exterior wall.
You're going to see things like glass and curtain wall, a perforated metal panel, architectural precast on the outside of the building.
And you're going to start to see this really cool cornice that goes around the whole perimeter of the stadium.
Slowly that facade will start to go on.
So the fans are going to be really impressed because you're going to start to see what the outside of the stadium is going to look like.
We keep talking about the personality of the building with every piece that goes up and with every day that passes. As we get into the spring, you're really going to see the building start to look like the renderings that we've put out.
Populous, they've really been able to show us why they are the predominant stadium designers in the world.
Seeing it all come together is just fascinating.
Everybody on our team is so focused on delivering a great project and a great product that the hardest thing is really to soak in the experience.
All this does is illustrate the commitment that Terry and his family have to this market. I don't know that there's an owner that's more connected to a city than Terry is to Buffalo.
It's incredible to come to work every day, to look across the street and see all of the energy and the talent and the effort.
I couldn't imagine anything more exciting.
The first day, we'll be there, and you see the first fans come through the turnstile. First thing that'll happen to me is a tear come out of my eye, because you see you made something that is unique and something that makes Buffalo and Orchard Park a better place.
It's really been a pleasure, project of a lifetime, and it's only going to get more exciting.
We've been talking about this for years, and here we are. You can see it's going up.